All right, Chris, we're going to do our first season preview and prediction video on Kansas, the Jayhawks. I'll start us off here with Kansas's offense, Chris. All right, so gone is former offensive coordinator Andy. How do you say the name? Koteliniki, I think is how you say his name, right? He left for Penn State. Obviously, he did a great job with Kansas over the last couple years. In comes Jeff Grimes from Baylor. Last year, Baylor Grimes offense ranked 71st, right? But to be fair, they were pretty banged up last year, right? So I'm going to kind of give him a pass on that, right? The good thing for him, though, he has more talent and experience at Kansas this year. So let's kind of dive into what Kansas is working with on offense. Okay, starting off, we've got Jalen Daniels, not Jaden Daniels. So Jalen Daniels, he was the starter coming into last year before a season-ending back injury in the third game of the year against BYU. I mean, in 3 games, Chris, he still put up almost 800 yards of offense and 5 touchdowns. So, I mean, I'm going to look for him to return to that form he was in last year and the year prior to that as well. He had a really good sophomore season. The Jayhawks also returned running backs Devin Neal and Daniel Hishaw, who put up over 2,100 yards and 25 touchdowns last year by themselves. Very slept on running back room, I think. Very slept on. Offensive line should be good as well as they bring back 3 starters from last year. They also get their top 3 wide receivers from last year in Lawrence Arnold, Quentin Skinner, and Luke Grimm, who combined to put up 14 touchdowns and over 1,900 yards of total offense. So again, this is an offense that is going to be very well experienced. They've all played together for a while. They're talented, but they're experienced. You don't have a ton of transfers coming in. I like that for them. The biggest question mark to me, the tight end position, right? Should be interesting is Jared Casey and Trevor Cardell are going to likely fight it out for that job this year. I don't think either one of them really had more than like 150, 200 yards last year. So it's also worth mentioning Kansas did finish last year with the 21st best offense in the country. I think that was behind Jason Bean there. So I'm going to kick it over to Chris here. I'll let you talk about the defense. Let me know about that Jayhawk defense.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Kansas. Like I said, they had a great year last year, 9-4, as we talked about. But they gave up 26.5 points per game under their defensive coordinator Brian Borland. He came over from Buffalo, I believe, a couple years ago. They did, 26.5 points per game, Christian, isn't terrible, but, it did finish 67th in the country last year. So kind of in the middle of the pack. So I guess the big thing is, we could talk transfer portal, we could talk recruiting, but they did sign Dacarius Brinkley, edge rusher. He's a 4-star. They also signed 2 DBs this offseason, both 3 stars. That's pretty good for Kansas. Like I said, we're talking about the Jayhawks here, the football team, not the basketball team. But, transfer portal, they did all right. They picked up one of Michigan State's edge rushers. I think it was a couple weeks ago or just recently. He was a 4-star. So I expect the defense, honestly, under Borland. I like this guy, and I expect their defense probably to be a little bit better this year. We talk about it a lot in the Big 12. You got to play some defense, a lot of high-powered offenses most years. Now we don't have Texas and Oklahoma in there. I think Kansas's defense can step up this year and do some things. So I don't have a ton more to add, Christian, defensively. Like I said, what about the schedule, though, to get down to the bread and butter here?
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. I'll let you kick it off here. I want to see what you think. What is your record prediction for him?
Yeah, so this was I had to do some deep diving on this, and this is the first team we've covered this offseason so far. But man, I overall, and this is going to shock you, Christian, I have Kansas. This is one of my sleeper teams this year, going 9-3. That probably throws you for a loop. We'll find out what yours is here in a second, but. Vegas does have Kansas predicted. I think it's 8.5 wins. So I was close. We talk about the schedule though. Linwood, Illinois is going to be a big, I would say a challenge for them right off the rip. That's at Illinois. I don't think Illinois is going to be tough this year, but I'll rattle through this. My losses though, Christian, come with West Virginia. We know how tough they were last year, had a good season. My other loss is obviously to a team that we're going to cover here shortly is K-State. I think they probably lose to K-State this year. And then I also have a loss to Iowa State. So those are my 3 losses for KU this year. I think you could pencil in a couple other teams that could compete, as far as the Big 12 goes, is being decent this year. It's always kind of a crapshoot. So I want to kick it over to you real quick as I rattle on there. I know you're shaking your head at my 9-3 season for the Jayhawks. What do you got, Christian?
Man, Chris, this is the first. We don't collaborate on this, and this is the first video of the year we're putting out. First team, Kansas, and you have the gumption to go 9-3.
I do.
Well, so do I. I also put them at 9-3 as well.
God,
almost identically, right? I think Illinois, again, last year I was very high on them. Brett Bielema, Luke Aldmeyer. I thought, hey, they were going to be really a sleeper team in the Big Ten last year, and they kind of shit the bed. So this year, again, they still have both those guys. They don't make the team, obviously, with Brett Bielema being the coach, but very tough as it is on the road for Kansas. So I do like Illinois in that one early in the season. At West Virginia, to me, with Neil Brown, that is a very, very interesting situation there. I mean, he was kind of on the hot seat, if I'm not mistaken, there for a while.
He was.
And so now, like I said, last year they had a really good year. It's at West Virginia. I like West Virginia in that one. And then my third loss, it's the Big 12. Weird shit happens in the Big 12 every year. Pick a loss. It wouldn't surprise me if they lost to Baylor. It wouldn't surprise me if they lost to Houston, who, by the way, is probably not going to be good this year. I know. I do like their coach and Willie Fritz. I hate the fact that he's lost almost all of that roster, though, to the transfer portal.
Yeah, I want to add this. It's ironic that we both have them going 9-3, and I agree with you on the losses. But I think Kansas goes as far as Jalen Daniels and Devin Neal, the running back, take them offensively. I truly believe that if he could stay healthy, both those guys, I think Kansas should have a good enough offense to beat a majority of these teams this year. Like I said, Lance Leopold's a hell of a coach. I think he's very slept on as far as one of the top coaches in the country, especially what he's done at Kansas. He inherited a team, if I'm not mistaken, back in 21 or 2020, where they won like one football game the year before. So hats off to Kansas. Like I said, nice job, Christian, copying me. I know you somehow got a hold of my notes.